You mentioned that brand of rice, the 6.4 centimeter one.
Looks like you like rice.
It must be pretty long, maybe competing with basmati, because basmati is quite long, a long grain rice. But people will ask, what's happening to our own local grains? Because, we mentioned different types of rice. There's Ofada rice here, there's Abakaliki rice, there's, I think that's in Ebonyi State. We have the local variety. Are they still growing those, or are they more difficult to grow?
Well, you see, what happened is that, as I said, we had different types of varieties, and because we were not standardizing them, people just say we had rice. Rice is not rice. Rice has to be standardized. And so what we did, the Faro 44 and Faro 52 is actually a cross between the Asia rice and the local rice, indigenous rice, so that it is resistant to pests and diseases while giving you the grain quality that you get from the Asian rice variety. So they're actually there. The Ofada rice is there, but people sometimes when they talk about Ofada, though, they think it's the grain. No, it's the parboiling system that actually produces the kind of smell that you have. It's actually not the rice itself. But you were talking about the rice. I feel excited. I know we were talking about a lot of large-scale producers. Now, these guys here, they're very, very small guys, that are doing this particular rice. It's a 10,000 metric ton mill. You have Oins, you have Damodi. These are small guys that are doing this. And this rice is fantastic. If you look at the mills that we are talking about, the number of mills that are doing this in Nigeria, and I'm talking small-scale mill, not the huge one. We can talk about that in a moment. We have roughly 5,000 of them in the country today. They have destoners. They have color sorters. You go to Abakaliki area, that whole Ebonyi area, it's all, awash with people that are doing this. And they've modernized. The rate of growth of the small guys that are doing this today in Nigeria, they've been growing about 25 to 40% every year.
Do they fall under the category of the smallholder farmers doing
this?
Yes,
these are small millers. These are small-scale millers that are actually doing this. And before, when you go to Nigerian rice, you take it, it's like, you crack your teeth on it, and then it breaks, and you go to the dentist after that. But all that is gone. We've replaced that. For example, take even, the Olam, you saw the Olam there, and even Stallions, Shinkafa rice that people see, they think it's imported rice. It's not imported rice. It's actually Nigerian, Faro 44, Faro 52, being milled and actually being packaged and sold to you. So
something comes to my mind. December is coming, and we'll soon start seeing a distribution of rice, as it were, from companies and what have you. And I'm hoping that people will be able to identify, what is actually made in Nigeria. Because at that time, there's so much going on across the borders, and, maybe illegally, but they still get in anyway. So I'm sure that a lot of people will want to patronize local, and I'm hoping that there will be a drive pushing people, to patronize local, and they'll be able to identify it, because not all of these bags here bear proudly Nigerian.
Actually, they do.
All of them?
Yeah. You see, let me say first, the number one customer for Nigerian rice is the president, because the president eats this Nigerian rice, every day. He holds it up proudly. If you take a look at this one right here, just look at the branding of this. If you look at the very edge of it, you see proudly Nigerian. We are branding the rice for ourselves. One of the things the president said recently was that he would love to be able to take Nigerian rice and give it out as food aid over time, just like United States give their own rice out. And I think we're going to get there soon. The key is that we have to take pride in what we have. I'm enormously proud of what Nigerian farmers have done, these millers have done. You look at Aliko Dangote, coming into rice. Aliko Dangote decided to put in $1 billion, which is 165 billion naira into rice. And I can't forget the conversation with him. He came to my office, he said, Honorable Minister, the rice policy is working. I think I get exactly what you're saying. He didn't become the richest man by being lazy mentally, And so even if you don't understand economics or finance or investment, if you see him moving, then you know that it's got his numbers right. And he said, look, I will put in $300 million into commercial rice production and also commercial rice milling. And he came back, and we've been talking for about 8 months, and he came back about 3 weeks ago, and a month ago, and he said, look, I've changed my mind. I said, oh, please, I hope you didn't change your mind that you're not going to invest at all. He said, no, I changed my mind because I want to do it at $1 billion US dollars. And as he walked out of my office, I was going out, I said, well, Alhaji, look, let God use you to remove from us the shame of being the second largest importer of rice in the world. And he looked back as he was walking out, he said, by God's grace, we will become the tie for rice in Africa. That is what a good policy does. You know, I think what this president has done extremely well is that he's very patient, he's very focused, he's set very good policies, and you're beginning to see the rewards of that. In rice today in Nigeria, we have a total of $1.6 billion US dollars of private sector investment going there. I want to talk of the small guys that are actually doing this. So I feel the momentum is there. Those that were saying, oh, we couldn't do it, you know, I never get discouraged. I don't, because I just believe that, you know, if you stay with things and you're doing the right things and you're dogged in it. Look, India is not different from us. Thailand is not different from us. You know, they don't have two heads and we have one head. No, we have exactly the same kind of environment. And I really believe that Nigeria will, by the grace of God, in 3-4 years from now, become just like Thailand for rice in Africa.
Okay, fantastic work you're doing with the rice policy, but one looks at the Nigerian agricultural scene and sees a plethora of different activities. Right. Now, how do you bring it all together? And where do you bring it all together? Is it just about rice, or are we looking at other foods as well?
Well, you know, I mean, the first thing that the president, you know, asked me to do is to look at our import figures. You know, we were spending a ridiculous amount of money importing rice, ridiculous amount of money importing wheat, sugar, and fish. And so when you're spending that much money importing from others, you're basically exporting your jobs, you're creating unemployment at home, and you're decimating your rural areas. So pretty much what the president said is that we're going to have a comprehensive look. But remember, agriculture, you can't just say, oh, gee, I'm doing agriculture. Agriculture is by value chain. So you got to deal with rice, you got to deal with cocoa, you got to deal with cassava, you got to deal with cotton, livestock, dairy, and all of that. So one thing that we did under the agricultural transformation agenda is that I said, look, we've got to get disciplined and say, let's pick value chain by value chain and fix them, right, from the farm to the table. I just told you about the case of rice. But we're doing the same also for cassava. You know, when we started the cassava, you know, we are the largest producer of cassava in the world with 40 million metric tons per year.
But we don't export.
But we don't even add global, exactly. We account for close to 0% of global value added. But you look at Thailand, you know, 10% of global production, 80% of global value added. And so they've moved up the chain. They're doing, you know, starch, and they're doing, you know, sweeteners, they are doing all that. So that's what we are doing today. So we're working with big companies. We're trying to transform our cassava into gold. You know, use cassava for starch, cassava for sweetener, so that Coca-Cola and everybody can use that. And even, you know, it would surprise you that in Thailand, they use the sorbitol that they use for toothpaste. Actually, it's made from cassava. And so we're moving into that in Nigeria. Take the case of cocoa. You know, it may surprise you. You know, for cocoa in Nigeria, the president gave us authorization to give away high yields, hybrids of cocoa that gives you 5 times the yields that farmers are currently getting. We've done 1 million pods of those free of charge to farmers all across the cocoa growing states of Nigeria. And that translates into roughly 39 million seedlings that we've given away for free. And that will allow us to plant about 40,000 hectares of new cocoa plantations. And so I expect our cocoa production in the next 2 years to rise from about 350,000 metric tons that we are today to well about close to 800,000 metric tons. So we're getting close to Ivory Coast and the others. You know, I can accept if Ivory Coast beats us in soccer or maybe Ghana, but not for cocoa. You know, we've got to get discipline. And we are also doing the same thing also for oil palm. You know, the president said, well, look, take a look at the South. And we've given away 9 million sprouted nuts of oil palm seedlings free of charge.
But who